3 million years from Earth, the Red Dwarf Podcast. Thanks for the memory. Its crew, Blake Braswell, a USA native, and Lee Malaby, his English co-host. Additional. The search for intelligent life goes on. Found an ocean moon last week, but only pulled up a 2-pound black rib nobbler. What's up, Smegheads? And welcome to Series 4, Episode 6 of Thanks for the Memory, a Red Dwarf podcast, where we rewatch every episode of the BBC comedy show Red Dwarf and discuss them, as well as discuss the black rib nobblers from the previous episode.
I love how both of our additionals are kind of on the same subject from the last episode. Is perfect. Oh, man, that was brilliant. That actually genuinely made me laugh out loud. Hello.
Well, that made my day.
Woo! Wow. That was brilliant. Right, let's get into it. Because it's funny, it's usually the ones that we end up talking about the most are the ones that we have the least amount of notes written down for. I have very little written down about this episode.
That's funny. I don't either. Because mostly I caught myself just watching it and be like, oh God, I should write that down to remember to talk about it, whatever. I just was enjoying watching it. I completely agree.
So this is, as we said, the final episode of Series 4. It is episode 6, Meltdown, which originally aired in the UK on March 21st, 1991. When Crichton finds a matter paddle, that sounds like a joke. Like, what's a matter paddle? I don't know what's the matter paddle.
I know a matter paddle to transport matter. Oh my God! Until you just said that, it never occurred to me. It sounded so right in Crichton's voice.
A matter paddle.
A matter paddle. When you what we have here is a matter paddle. I don't know. I can't even like.
I love your Crichton impression. It's brilliant. Anyway, when Crichton finds a matter paddle, it still sounds like a joke. I still feel like it should be a joke. What's a matter paddle?
What's the matter with you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When Crichton finds a matter paddle on the Red Dwarf, the crew decide to test it out and end up on a wax world, an enormous wax droid theme park where wax droids modelled after history's most famous heroes and villains are at war with each other. I vaguely remember this episode. Oh my God, I had so much fun with this the 3 times I watched it, and I think I laughed more watching it for the 3rd time.
I will tell you that I laughed harder each time I saw it when Gandhi blows up and there's nothing but boots left over. It's such a cheesy effect that makes me laugh so hard every time I see it.
So I'm going to let's just get it out of the way. So you brought up not a segment, but a thing we used to do when we first started this podcast of who was our favorite, who we thought the standout character from that episode was, and when I initially did that, it was obviously out of the crew. So it was like, was Lister the best, or was it Rimmer, or was it Crichton, or was it Kat, or was it Holly? And I'm going to bring it up for this because Wax World Elvis is the funniest thing, I think, at least to date, as far as Red Dwarf has done as a character. Just had me crying with laughter. He is brilliant. So apparently the guy who plays Elvis, I can't remember what his name is, turned up to his audition in his own Elvis suit, ready
because he's like an impersonator. Yeah. And I knew it as soon as he hit the screen. You're like, this guy does this for real.
Oh my God, he was not on screen anywhere near enough for me, and he's in it quite a lot, to be fair.
Which way do we go? Oh, I'm just swinging his arm around. Oh, that way. Like, so good.
Thank you very much. The best bit is when they're doing the drilling, like the marching through the marching through drill, and he's singing, "We are tough and we are mean, Arnie Rimmer's death machine. All we do is kill and slay, don't care if we get blown away. Eh ha, hey ha he, eh ha, hey ha he, Arnie Rimmer's death machine." Oh my God, I was crying. He is amazing. Every time he's on screen, he is just gold.
Did they have the camera on him for that last bit with the song?
Yes. He stops because they're jogging when they do the he, and then they stop, and then he does that bit with the whole Elvis motion and stuff. It's brilliant.
Oh my God! Wait, you're making me nuts because I don't remember that bit.
Yeah, it's so good. So probably
I'm just like, you didn't have like some extended thing, did you? That's where I'm just like, wait.
I don't think so.
More extended. Okay, because I'm like, wait. Now I'm like, wait, did I miss something? Oh no. Okay, I had to pull the pictures of it. Yes. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Just amazing. He is just perfect every time. It's even when he's got, I know you skip to the end a little bit, when he's got, when Rimmer has Kat and Lister prisoner, and he takes his scarf off and puts it around Lister's like, you've been fantastic prisoners and you always have. He's just, oh my God, he's brilliant. I can't enough.
Because he is like consummately in character and always doing it. So my addendum to that would be the Laurel Laurel.
Yeah, Laurel. Stan Laurel.
Stan Laurel character.
Yes, he's brilliant as well.
I wish he had so much more to do.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what's we're gonna
like,
die.
There's only like 6 of us and I think we're gonna die. It's like, yeah, he's brilliant.
He is so good. The both of them are fantastic. And my other standout is Gandhi, which, looking this up, discovered someone else was cast that was older and was like, I can't do the push-ups and hang out in the cold.
I mean, he hardly does push-ups, to be fair, but yeah.
And they grabbed this dude. And so I don't even know what his deal is, but he just...
Because he doesn't even speak.
No, but he's just... You figure like it's someone they knew or someone's like granddad or something. Like, just come down here, man. Somebody's great uncle. And like, he just cracks me up in this episode. This is such a good... I mean, we spoke last week, obviously, about the previous episode for episode 5, which is the Ace Rimmer episode. These are 2 massive 1-2 punches at the end of this series. They are both fantastic.
For Rimmer as well, though. Like, they're very heavily Rimmer episodes.
So while my Red Dwarf is much more rooted in like series 4, 5, and 6, this is an episode that was a slight blind spot for me in the sense that I had seen it, loved it, only saw it once. This was one that was hard for me to find later in life and never like got a hold of it. So I was so excited to get to this one and watching it because I remember as a kid loving it. And my wife last night, she goes, wait, why was it one of your favorites? I was like, I don't know. I think it was it's so different. Like they go to, I mean, Earth obviously, but they're outside. There's this whole other layer of sci-fi. There's a wax world, kind of almost like what is that?
Westworld.
What's that? Westworld. Thank you. Yeah, kind of vibe, and like just the hokiness of the crazy Godzilla type creatures that you see, and to see all these hysterical like historical figures just being lampooned so well, and it's so good. And plus, like Rimmer absolutely going off just this deep end is as big as the deep end is when he put himself in Rimmer or Lister's body.
Yes.
And you're just like, how do you come back from that? And this is kind of a similar situation. Like, I don't know how you come back from this because he goes nuts. But my goodness, this one has a cold open that actually is about the rest of the episode.
Yes. In
like a full circle way where he's telling the stories that he would write down from playing Risk with his like friends in the club. God. And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, man, this is like someone trying to tell me what happened in their D&D campaign that was funny. And I'm like, I believe that it was hysterical for every one of you that was sitting there. I don't have the context to make this. This is not as cool for me. It's like someone telling you their dreams.
But Lister's literally telling him, I'm not interested. I'm not gripped. Yeah. You have got me the least gripped I have ever been. And yet he still carries on. Oh, I haven't even got to the best bit yet. And he's like, all right, then go on. Well, I rolled a 2 and a 5 and he rolled a 3 and a 6. Yeah, it's like the best bit's the same as the rest of it, Rimmer.
Well, you don't know what happened. For all you know, I took up the dice and shoved him his nose until he flew out of his ears. I love that when he goes, so what happened? I rolled a 5 and a 2. And the like smile that Rimmer has after he says that is like quintessential perfect Rimmer face. It's so smug. It's so brilliant. The delivery of that. And, oh my God. It's so good.
It's just such a, so spoilers, this is breaking into my top 5, right? And it's not, I don't think it's not like, see, a lot of my favorite episodes are like really well written, like clever episodes. It's not a clever episode. It's quite a basic premise, really. It's just funny. It just made me laugh more than I think any other episode has done for quite a while.
It's so rooted in like even the stuff, even the slapstick things at the beginning, like when Crichton's just randomly teleporting in.
See, and that going off that, we talked about the special effects last week on the last episode. Some of it being really good and some of it being really hokey. That of Crichton teleport about was so good because I purposefully watched them when Crichton disappeared and like popped up somewhere else to see if it was like a cut shot, so they'd moved slightly, and they didn't. So it was a really good effect.
It was a great effect, and then just the like best cheesy dumb punchline ever when it's like, we'll see you by navigation or whatever, and then just them coming out of the shower that for some reason was running, yes. So they're all
wet. We're walking, right? We're walking.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, but then I'm going to lead you in, Blake, because you haven't said it yet. But obviously, Rimmer says, "Look, he's forgetting one thing," and he's like, "No, sir, I've completely factored in your."
No, it's funny. I've taken your congenital cowardice into consideration. Brilliant. And he delivers it so nonchalantly, like it's just, no, I took the fact that you're 5'11" into consideration. Like,
yeah,
it's just a fact.
But he's like, I'm made of matter. I'm like, I'm not made of anything. I can't touch it. Like, no, you do actually have a slight physical presence. And the light bee comes up for the first time, which you've been mentioning for like, feels like forever at this point. We're finally here. But
they totally make it a dick joke first. You do have a small physical presence.
Oh, that never occurred to me.
Go back and look at that little bit, and it's definitely played as
okay. That like, went over my head.
It's well done. It's not hammered in, but yeah, the light bee, which is, and this is one of those, you're young enough. I can't remember how it crisscrossed over, but when I discovered there was a Red Dwarf novel, I was like young. Maybe series 4 was out or 3 was out, but I discovered it because it was on the back of, we had these like book drives at my school where they would raise money you could buy books and stuff, right? And I saw this tabby. I don't know where you could find this cover. I need to see if it still exists somewhere, but it was a book in space, in like a spaceship, with a tabby cat wearing like, but it looked like a tabby cat, but standing on two in like a suit, or like a space suit, and it said Red Dwarf. I was like, wait, is that the cat from Red Dwarf? I mean, is there an original book? And then I ended up getting it. I believe that's Infinity Welcomes Careful Drivers. I think that's the first one. But anyway, in that book, the concept of the light bee is in there. And I, for the life of me, will have to do a little research now and figure out who said it first, about where the light bee comes in. Because I know it will come into play a lot in series 6. I can't remember if it does in 5 or not. So it's interesting that it got thrown out. And I don't know if that was just a thing like, hey, that idea we always talked about, that'll give us our physical presence we need to teleport, Rimmer, and basically get rid of all the dumb things we've done, like hologram projection cages or...
Well, actually, we're not quite there, because the light bee it gives him a small presence. He still can't touch things. That's when they decided way down the line for his hard light drive. And I'm surprised it took them that long to kind of, to get to that point of going, we just need to come up with something so we don't have to worry about him not being able to touch things.
That's it, right, because we need him to be able to do something.
Yeah.
But it definitely, like, it solves a bunch of problems, and now they can just travel around. And you could tell, they're like, well, how do we do this with him if he can't touch it? Like, you can just see that in the writing. Well, what if there's like a little thing like floats around in him? But that was in the book implicitly, and I do remember that being because they, it's a novel, so they would tend to explain a little of the sci-fi concept, just a little bit more.
It's a complete retcon, isn't it, though? Because if that thing's been floating around inside him for all this time, why did they need all, like you say, the hologram projection cage when they were on the planet for Thanks for the Memory?
Yep.
Like, why was that there?
Yeah, why wouldn't it just be like a generator or something that's nearby?
Yeah. Yeah. But that's it. It happens.
But I do love that we have the light bee. I wrote that with 3 exclamation points. The light bee concept makes its first appearance.
It would have been interesting to have had conversations with the writers and the director and stuff to see, like, when you were making this, when was the point when you realized this is a thing now and we can start planning for the future? Do you know what I mean? Like those first couple of episodes, like so Thanks for the Memory. They're like, oh well, they didn't know that in the future they were going to have the light bee, so it negates all of that. So they're just writing for the here and now, not knowing that there's going to be a second series or a third series or a fourth series. So when the point was when they realized that we can actually start putting things in place to be able to tell stories later on without having to worry about the constraints of whatever it might be.
Right, like we want to be able to move forward and do, like you said, to be able to do more with it and not worry about it.
Yeah.
So let's do this so that in the future we don't have to worry about it. It does kind of feel like that's a this season thing,
Yes.
But I guess it probably unofficially starts, to be honest, with Crichton. I mean, the original idea was to have that original Crichton actor, and that was supposed to be the final episode of the season. And then Crichton was going to be in the beginning of series 3, which he was, but I mean, originally the airing was going to be a little different. So I guess Crichton in a way is the first, like, we're going to do this thing to move forward. Because in a way, Crichton is Rimmer's hands that didn't exist. The Scudders did it, but you couldn't take the Scudders to different adventures.
And then you could also argue that we've talked about it a lot, that I think Series 3 was when it got a budget, where they started doing more sort of outsidey stuff, more spacey stuff than there was in the first one. So yeah, you're probably right. Series 3 was when it probably locked in as like, we're going to do more than this series at this point.
Yeah, like they knew, like, yeah, we'll keep going. By the way, I am about to send you the book, one of the book cover I was talking about. Did it work? Oh no, it didn't work. I have to send this to you because I found one of them that I actually, to be honest, was not familiar with. It's not the one I saw as a kid, but I at least go, okay, my memory wasn't totally wrong. They did do these book covers, and I gotta like get into the history of the book a little bit at some point when we have a gap and figure out.
Okay, yes, I've seen that book cover.
Yeah, where Holly's very digitized and Rimmer and Lister almost look like they're twins. It's weird.
They're weird, don't they? I do want to read them. I do want to read them at some point.
The cat is a real cat.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But I knew that was a thing. I was like, I know that I saw this somewhere with this like cat that was on the cover and totally being freaked out by it.
Yeah. So it's interesting, just going back on something you said there, Blake, about the Crichton episodes being in a different order. This episode was not meant to be the series finale. According to the trivia, this was supposed to be the first episode of this series, but because of the Gulf War going on at the time, they thought a war-themed episode probably wasn't a good episode to start the series off on.
Well, I will say, we would not have felt like we were so dry on Rimmer focus had it been in its original order.
That is true, yes.
Because you get all this, again, as we said, both of these episodes, while Rimmer focused, it's very much love spread throughout the whole cast, especially this one. Not as much Holly in this one, but in terms of everybody going off and having their own adventures and stuff. And we do the split up of Rimmer and Crichton and Dave and the cat, which happens frequently. When they arrive on the planet and they see the like terrible Godzilla type monsters, that cracks that they just did that and like, this will work. This is what we're gonna do. And that I was seeing that they even added scratches and stuff to it to make it look even worse, like for when it cuts to those creatures.
Oh yes,
I've seen more dinosaurs that are something they're so unconvincing or whatever. But every time I see that bit, that's one of those that I laugh too hard at every time I see it. I'm like, it's so dumb, and I think it's so funny. I
like it when Lister and Kat first appear and they're on the table with Goering and Goebbels and Hitler, and then they transport themselves onto the table, and then like, oh, we've got away from them. We seem to be in some sort of stone corridor. I can see daylight.
Just make out a light.
And then it flicks outside and you can just see them stood around the fireplace, like, and their feet just in there. But you wouldn't know. That's the thing. You would have no idea, would you, where you were?
I wrote down, no one makes better fun of Nazis than the British.
It very much, I tell you what, this episode, it's funny. I'll see if you agree with me, because you have mentioned this series quite a lot when we've been talking about Red Dwarf. There's very much sections of this that feel like Allo Allo.
Yes, for absolutely. And you almost feel like the episode could have been like, these are your villains, and then of course they add in that it's like, you know, it's all these villainous characters from history, period. Like absolutely brilliant. I wrote the explanation that Glister gives to the cat of who each Nazi character is hysterical.
Yeah, he was a transvestite or whatever it was.
Yeah, with those hips, like,
yeah, it could have been a promising movie career, actually. And there, stood outside listening to him. And the one with the kiddie fiddler specs, that must be Gehring or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yep.
Wow.
It's so brilliant. And then it leads to, I would have tried to figure out how to make a monologue out of this when I was in my auditioning days, but it doesn't quite work without the visuals. Again, that whole thing of, we want to explain what's happening out there, but we don't have the budget to show it all. So you got Lister up there looking in the window being like, oh, look, there's, you know, Napoleon, and there's, I forget who all he says, but like he's just, you know,
Mussolini,
Attila the Hun.
I think there was, it was the one that got locked up in Alcatraz.
Oh, Al Capone.
Yes.
Yeah, and so he's listing all these terrible people through history, but then that he describes the firing squad death of Winnie the Pooh. Nobody should have to see that.
My favourite bit of that is like, what they're doing, what's going on out there? Oh, they're having some sort of parade or something. Oh, they're building a sculpture. What is it? It's like modern art. It's like an inverted L. And it's like, oh, has it got a kind of rope motif? Yeah, it's got a noosey quality about it.
Look, man, if it's a gallows, just tell me it's a gallows. It's a gallows. I don't want to die. Like, Cat's so
brilliant.
Again, and that's like using Cat for a punchline, but like within the character, you know, like, I friggin' love it. And my God. And I think this guy has already been on the episode once, and he was a talkie toaster voice, but Caligula.
So Tony Hawk's. He's the guy I've talked to you about before, Blake, who was in Morris Minor and the Majors that did the stutter rap.
Yes.
That's him. So according to the trivia, he was often called the Fifth Dwarfer because he was in so many episodes. He would also do the warm-up for the studio audience, and he was Talkie Toaster, he was one of the Reverse, he was the Reverse Brothers in Backwards.
He was the guy that like had the line about, you silly person, you listen to all this, right? Like that they played in reverse, but it was like, I can't believe you took the time to play this back in reverse. Isn't that him for the Backwards episode? Isn't he the guy who runs the bar?
No, he's one of the Reverse Brothers. Oh, no, actually, I think on the poster, the sensational reverse. I'm trying to think now. That's interesting because
it's that.
That's not him. That's Arthur Smith. The guy who owns the club is Arthur Smith.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm going to have to look that up now because you're right. They were the Reverse Brothers.
Yeah, they were the Reverse Brothers. So who? Yeah. So who was? Because I absolutely recognize him. You know.
Oh yeah, he's.
So I love slapstick, like just nobody's business. I love well done cheese,
especially this one.
What's that?
Especially in this one, I know where you're going.
Oh, well, in this bit with Caligula, of every time that the cat pisses Caligula off, shut your mouth, and then he slaps Lister instead.
In exactly the same, like every time it's
like just, it's so good, and it happens like 3 times. So in the final time it happens, you cut to Lister looking at Cat. Shut up. Like, I just love it.
So Tony Hawk's was the compere. He's the guy that introduces the sensational Reverse Brothers.
Which that would make sense, right? He's the warm-up host and stuff and everything else. Okay.
Yes.
But so his Caligula is fantastic.
So here we go then. Very Python-esque.
Oh, super Monty Python. Yeah.
Like that character wouldn't have felt out of place in The Life of Brian.
Absolutely not. Like he is, and you know, he's only in it for a little bit, and you're almost going, man, I think I'd have made him the main villain instead of Hitler running the thing. Like, he is so good.
Because it feels very much Biggest Dickus. He's got that lisp, hasn't he?
But you know who else is good as Lincoln? Like, he plays it pretty straight, which is what makes it so funny. I mean, it's very stereotypical, like, I'm doing a play of Lincoln, but like it's just he's so serious.
They're all really good, though. I think everyone who's playing somebody else is all really good.
This is one of those where, well, we're not going to bring in one extra character. We'll bring in 8, but everybody, Elvis, Laurel, like everybody is so good.
Like
in
Ethan,
this.
I think Marilyn only has one line, but she's really good. Noel Coward's funny. Oh, pleasure to meet you, sir.
Oh yes. What does he say when he gets shot? I forget. Oh God. But yes, Noel Coward's great. But Marilyn Monroe, you see her though, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. She looks amazing. Like she very much looks like Marilyn Monroe. She's like a great get. Mother Teresa. Actually, the other one that looks really accurate is Queen Victoria. Yes. She's got no lines.
And she's barely in it. You literally see her like once. Yeah.
But she's like the secret, like, whatever weapon to come in and sneak in and she is just hysterical. And it's a very like it is a very you said Monty Python. I'll throw out Mel Brooks's Blazing Saddles.
Yes.
When you get to the bad guys, and then there's like Nazis, you've got Klan members and like biker gang all out there like shooting throughout the window, and you're like, God, it's totally like Blazing Saddles out here. Oh, a fun fact. Did you see the fun fact about the building that's like the little Nazi stronghold?
No.
It's the house. It's the set and house for The Mummy Returns.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, right. I was like, oh, look at that. Yeah.
Wow.
And which for us, we just introduced my 7-year-old daughter to Muppy. So we just did Mummy about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then just did Mummy Returns like a couple weeks ago. So it was like, I don't know that I could look at it and tell exactly where, but it's like some set where they do use the interior for fancy houses or whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was from Mummy Returns. Because we can't get away from Universal properties.
Of course we can't. No. There was one...
And especially now that this show is on Peacock too. I'm like, oh, of course. Yeah. Of course it's on Peacock.
So going back to Lister looking out of the window describing what he was seeing because he didn't have the budget for it, I did notice that glass was not see-through, by the way. So he couldn't see anything. But he mentioned like James Last. Oh, there's James Last. I'll be honest, I don't know who James Last is.
Dang it. That's what I was holding out for because I didn't get that reference.
I think he's a musician. I asked Tracy and I was like, is he a musician? Because there was another reference that I thought was a musician. I'm going to look him up now. I think he's a musician. James Last, he is a German composer.
I could not find. So is a German composer as in like, was he composing stuff for Hitler? Like what's...
Oh, maybe. He only died like 10 years ago. In Palm Beach, Florida, USA. Of course he did. Because that's where everyone goes to retire in America. Oh, hilarious.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything on him because there's a couple other famous James Lasseters.
James Last.
That pop up. Or not Laster, but Last, yeah.
Yeah. No, he didn't have anything to do with Hitler as far as I can see. I know, I knew the name. But
he was born 1929, made it to 2015. That's pretty good. Just a big band leader.
Yeah, and looking at it, it says years active from 1946 to 2015. So he was composing up to his last breath by the looks of it.
I will say this, though. If he was initially a jazz bassist and then doing like happy music, big band leader, it does pour into the Rimmer kind of guy Rimmer would have loved that Lister hates.
Because he was it this one where he was talking about his Hammond organ songs, or was that the previous episode?
I think that's the previous one. Oh, because that's what he's going to take on the fishing trip that they can listen to before he does Kumbaya. Yeah. Just to throw it out there, we also have our Alien references where all the androids, when they get hurt, bleed milk, just like good old Ash.
That was the other one. Pat Boone. He mentions Pat Boone. And I was like, who the hell's Pat Boone?
You know Pat Boone?
Nope. Again, it's a name I recognize, but I couldn't. Apparently, he's an American singer-songwriter.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank for like most famous song, but it's one of those things you like.
Speedy Gonzales. You
would know. I mean, they're all from like the 50s and stuff. Yeah, it's one of those names that I know because of my grandparents, and so my mom would have been like, ugh, Pat Boone, because that would have been who her parents listened to.
All right, Quando. I know that.
So it is kind of an odd one to throw in. Dear John.
Yeah, weird references again. So odd. It's just odd, some of the references that they do use.
Oh, yeah. He's got a classic version of You'll Never Walk Alone for Liverpudlian fans.
Oh, of course. Yeah, at least this one, he's like, I recognized his name. I just couldn't tell you who he was.
But that is kind of a random one too. There were probably other ones that you could have thrown into that might have hit a bit harder. But I don't know. I like my weird references.
Oh, I love
like
it. Yeah,
Teasy Weezy, and
that's still the best one ever.
Teasy Weezy, and what's the steakhouse that sounded like it should have been so famous?
Bernie Inn.
Bernie.
So interesting. We're talking about the prehistoric section, Blake. According to the trivia, the intentionally unconvincing monsters of Waxworld prehistoric section were actually taken from a monster movie itself called Gappa the Triphibian Monster from 1967.
Gappa the Triphibian Monster is an amazing name.
I don't think I would want to watch that. I mean, it looked pretty bad.
Man, I got to tell you, to just off topic for a hot second of a current film franchise, the Godzilla MonsterVerse stuff, I love it.
So I haven't seen the last one I saw Kong versus Godzilla. Which is the one that ends up with them fighting Mecha Godzilla at the end?
That is that one, and
right.
then
so that's the only I haven't seen Kong X or whatever the one after that.
Yeah, Kong X Godzilla, whatever that one is. Yes.
I haven't seen that one.
Delightfully cheesy. Love them. They're so good.
When
they finally just like, hey, let's quit trying to make this remotely make sense. Let's just get these guys fighting each other. Let's do this.
Yeah. But again, while we're in the trivia, I might as well stick there. Apparently, this was fans' least favorite episode. Apparently, a lot of fans in the DVD commentary, the cast talk about how most fans disliked this episode, speculating that perhaps it wasn't spacey enough.
That's so weird to me because again, even as a little kid, this one was burned in my head because it was different, you know?
Yeah.
But to me, that is sci-fi. A bunch of wax robots of famous historical, like you said, Westworld, whatever. To me, this is strong in sci-fi. And just seeing Rimmer finally, it is an interesting 1-2 punch coming out of the Ace episode. Like, take charge and but for all the wrong reasons, want to lead them to victory. But it plays out exactly how it would if Rimmer was in charge. Like, he doesn't care about the war itself. He wants to win at all costs and be as far away from it as he possibly can so that he gets to say, I won the war. Yes, and that's all that matters.
And he does, with absolutely a complete 100% casualty rate. Like no one, we haven't quite counted up who made it through yet. And Crichton's like 0, sir.
0, sir. But his whole that when they do the attack on and the gag of actor running toward camera, then doing an explosion and then just having either an orange piece of clothing or in Gandhi's case, just those 2 boots there. God, again, I love cheese well done. And it is just from the Caligula slaps to this. I mean, the whole way, even the whole Rimmer, I rolled a 5 and a 2. This is another one of those just from front to back. Is great. I will say Rimmer is so bonkers in this episode that as a kid seeing it, I guess weekly, it doesn't hit as hard as watching it right after watching the Ace episode.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, man. Which it kind of was like when we watched the episode where him and Lister switch bodies, where you're like, ooh.
He completely loses it, yeah.
Yeah, this is really rough. Like, how do you come back from this? But in this episode, he doesn't. Dave and you alluded to it, I think in a previous episode, but not even we see Heart of Gold with Dave, but maybe the moral code of Mr. David Lister comes out in this, and how frustrated he is with Rimmer, having this Pyrrhic victory, and that's the only thing that matters. And he has quite the good little speech, to be honest, at the end of it.
kind of talking about, oh, it's like brilliant because we know they're all dead, but don't worry, they'll all be dead in a world of freedom, basically.
Yes, yeah. And then I love you got this really good, like, sort of like, oof moment. And then he has Holly cut off to the light bee and then swallows it.
Yeah. I mean, it's alluded to, but never specifically said, because I think Crichton mentions, I think Rimmer's kind of lost it. I think it might have been because you, like, swallowed his, or, like, spat his light bee out or whatever. So it's kind of alluded to that the fact that Rimmer goes off the reservation as much as he does is because Lister, like, flicks it up in the air and puts it in his gob and swills it around a bit and then spits it out, that caused Rimmer to go off the rails.
Yeah, I do like that. I will say it is such a throwaway line that I don't even remembered it. I didn't remember it the first time I saw it. And then on the second go, I was like, oh, okay. So that's what they're trying to say. Because it's almost like, man, should we slide this in somewhere? Like, how does Rimmer become not a good guy, but just like, how do you keep following this guy, if he does this? You mentioned something, and you haven't gotten to it yet. Speaking of light bees and holograms, but you said you had something for this episode.
Oh, it was in the trivia and I took it out. So when he's got all his army lined up, and Rimmer's on a motorbike.
Yeah, he's on a motorbike. It does have Holly's face on it,
right?
So are we to believe Holly created a motorcycle hologram for him to drive?
Out of what?
Because he says, even though he operates the lever, he says, all right, Holly, let's go. He gives her the command to move it.
That's true.
Now, is the trivia that was in, I mean, it's always hard to tell the IMDb what's true or not, but it says that that's Chris Berry's motorcycle.
Right.
I'm like, that's hysterical if it is, and that's why he's perfect for playing this nerd, if he has this old school military motorcycle. But are we supposed to infer she made it? I love it's one of those things that as a kid, I didn't even think twice.
Well, why would you? Like, it's only because we're scrutinizing it through the eye of a needle, like through a magnifying glass now, like 34 years later, that, we need stuff to talk about. So we're going to pick little bits like that up.
Well, it makes me, it's great. I was sitting there watching these. I know you and Trace been watching together, and Karen and I have been watching together, and she's picking up from the show, like the things that we call out. So it's funny sometimes watching, like, oh, that's a weird hologram thing because he's doing this right now. And she's like picking them out. I'm like I feel like I'm ruining your first watching of some of these.
But again, there was something I was going to say off the back of the last one, and I've realised it wouldn't necessarily work now. And not on this episode, because I'm realising that these two shouldn't have been back to back. It would have been interesting to see where the last episode would have fallen if this episode would have been the first one. So what would have ended up following? Is this making any sense to you, by the way?
Oh, yeah. So no, that makes sense.
Whatever episode would have followed Dimension Jump, because I would have liked to have seen Lister kind of bummed out because he was missing Ace. And I realised, watching the way we're watching, I would have liked this episode to have started off with him kind of missing Ace, and then Crichton being like, hey, look, I've just found this. Why don't we try this out? That might make you forget about him. But obviously this episode wouldn't have followed that one, so it wouldn't have been a thing. But it would have been nice to have seen that continuity of, because of how well Lister and Rimmer got on, to have seen some fallout from the fact that he left. But obviously it wouldn't be this episode because it wouldn't have fallen in that order.
So it says the plan. Did you see the list for the planned order?
No.
So the planned order was to be DNA, Justice, White Hole. There's conflicting
because that's
information.
it. Because according to the trivia, this was supposed to be the first. Oh, the last one was supposed to be the first. Oh no, this was supposed to be the first episode. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, the Meltdown should have been. Yeah, this is like, is this thing where Google, because they've added their AI and everything, sucks? This is what it is. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find an answer and it's AIing a terrible
I mean, you won't
answer.
necessarily get the right answer. It might not even be out there, but it would have just been interesting to see, to have had some fallout from Ace
it's
leaving.
true. I think in previous series, we actually had opportunities to see like, no, this was the planned order.
Yes.
Whereas this
Okay.
one, I don't know that it's that crazy. It might just have been that Meltdown was supposed to be first, and that might have been all.
And so instead of this being first, they shifted it to the back. So the second episode ended up being the first, the third, the second, the fourth, the third, the fifth, the fourth. Yeah, maybe.
Which it would have made more sense if you ended with Ace.
Yes.
And it started with this one. You could see how that would make sense in the flow of a season.
I wonder now then if I'm going to get my way a little bit. You know more than me, and don't spoil it, but obviously if the last episode, if Dimension Jump was supposed to be the last episode of this series, then maybe the first episode of Series 5, we see a little bit of that fallout for him not being there and Lister. Because
I haven't seen it.
I literally don't remember the next episode. I know I've seen it, but...
Well, I know exactly what the next episode is. It's in terms of like, I saw like, the thumbnail and the title, and I remember it. But that being said, it's sometimes hard to remember these cold opens and stuff.
Yes.
So I don't know. That could absolutely be the case. Also, I would never have watched it this way.
No.
So I wouldn't be looking for it.
So here's a question then for you, Blake. I know we've got completely off topic at this point. When did you... See, you said when you first started watching Red Dwarf that you were just catching random episodes and you didn't know necessarily what order you were watching them in. You could have watched like 2 episodes from Series 1 and then the next one might have been an episode from Series 2 or whatever. Do you remember when you actually started watching them in consequential order?
For sure, consequential order would have been Series 4 for me.
So this one, okay.
And there's a possibility... it could have been a chunk of 3, but
like
I
halfway
remember,
through, you might have picked it up and then carried on from there. Yeah,
because I think my random order was Series 1, 2, and 3. So I knew it was Series 1 and 2. Well, I actually didn't know it because we didn't call it that. You didn't see it listed that way, even. Would just be I knew it was before they had Crichton. And then after, right? That's kind of, that was where I knew it. So, and obviously the first 2 series had kind of a specific look to it. So I knew what I was seeing there. And unless it was the very first one, which I was familiar with because it literally set everything up, okay, I know that's the first one.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, Future Echoes. Was that the finale of the first one series?
Me Squared, wasn't it?
Or Me Squared was. Yeah. It's so funny. Future Echoes always feels like it ought to be.
I think it wasn't Future Echoes the second episode?
I think so. It feels like a season finale to me, the way that it's like.
I love that episode.
It ends going, but you had 2 kids. How? I don't know, but it's going to be a blast finding out. You know what I mean? Like it feels like a finale vibe. But that's one of those 2 they said that they've, tweaked with a bit.
That feels like such a long time. We talked about that
ages.
episode.
And it's not even that many episodes.
No.
But for sure, season 4 is like when it locks in for me, and like I remember these in order. Although this particular Meltdown was, for whatever reason, did not make the reruns a lot. Okay. So I only saw a lot of them. I saw multiple times. This one I did not see as many times. There was this one. There was whatever one where. Was it the future where they are the stasis leak, right? I think I said that was one that I was like, I have not actually seen this.
Yes.
So that's the problem, is there'll be gaps where I think I saw it in order, but whenever stuff would come over here, if I didn't catch it on the initial first showing, who knows what order it gets put in after that.
It's weird, isn't it? It's weird to think back to a time when you didn't necessarily know what order you were watching stuff in. Like it's so easy to know now, like which series, which episode you're watching of whatever series it might be. When back then, like it was never really announced unless you bought like you said before, a TV guide or like the Radio TV Times, the equivalent over here. And even then, I'm not necessarily sure whether it would tell you, what series or episode. I think it's a long time ago. I've slept many, many, many times since then. The world has changed so much.
Like as a kid, And then later in life, until like you could just stream these things, it was no Crichton with Crichton series 3. We also have Hilly as Holly.
Yes.
Right. Yes. So no Crichton, female Holly, and then Hard Light Rimmer that you brought up. Or like those are like points where you're like, oh, you can tell.
Yeah.
This is after that thing happened. Do you know what I mean? Like, and those are like at least in series 1 through 6, those are kind of like the big markers in my head for where things take a shift.
Because then we're obviously going to get into a point where New Kachansky comes in, and that's another.
Right. That's it. So to me, that's like phase 2. If we're going to use Marvel parlance, it feels, or this has been phase 1, 2, and 3, and then 4 is kicking off with that one. But I do feel much like the previous episode. This is them figuring out how to use everybody really well. Holly, not so much, but it is an episode that to be fair to them, takes place off campus, and they are not on Red Dwarf, and they always have a tough time pulling that off.
See, that annoys me because they established how they could take Holly off ship in the first episode of series 3 and then never really use it again because she's on that like circle little screen thing in Crichton's belly. And then you never see it again. I mean, even going back to Better Than Life, she's on, it was when we of Holly at that point on Lister's watch. So they've done it multiple times, yet they just don't seem to want to use it a lot.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a harder special effect at the time than we realize it is. Because I do feel like later on they do watches and like data pads and stuff like that, and Holly does show up more on those, but also like, I mean, with all the new characters and Elvis and everybody, it would start to get a little tight if you had everybody on there.
I mean, this is probably the most character heavy episode, other than maybe the end. Because you've got like Peterson and Chen, and you see a lot of them, and like the captain and stuff. But then if you think like how many characters in this actually have speaking lines, there's a lot.
No, you're right. Since the end, that's actually a good call. This is the largest cast. Maybe there's that one with stasis leak where you do go back on the ship a bit, but like where the cast gets large again. But a lot of people don't get featured as much. Like in the end, you get a lot of dialogue from different people.
Which episode is it where Rimmer's, when he writes the answers to the thing on his... because he goes down the disco, doesn't he? And they're down there, and he's been taking the memory aiding. Which episode's that?
It's in first series, right? Yeah.
Is that Balance of Power?
Because we're still dealing with depressed Lister, or dealing with the idea of like being alone, which we have. It's cool you bring this up as we get to the end of series 4. We don't have a lot of that.
No.
You know, this like last person, maybe the last human, and you don't. There is sort of the bleakness of the concept of Red Dwarf. But you know, the first 3 series, specifically 2, the first 2 was a lot of like how to get back home, or how to like do something, or, oh my gosh, is there a person on board here or whatever. You don't have as much of that. I do think that does creep back in after this series, but you do, this one is a lot more, they're like accepting of their current situation, for lack of a better term.
It's interesting, isn't it, to watch. We've said this before, because they're only 6-episode series, they have the chance to write the series, film it, and then take stock and go, how do we want to move forward for the next 6 episodes? And then they do the next 6 episodes, and they go, right, we need to step back. Let's take stock of that. And they all do feel, I think the first 2 series definitely feel the most alike. But then like season 3 still kind of delves into those little bits. And then this one's completely different. It's just, this one feels more like, you've said before, where it's like Star Trek, where it's like Adventure of the Week. I think this one feels more like that. Even though they're all like that, this one feels more like that than the others.
Yeah, this is the holodeck goes wrong or something, episode.
And that's all we're focused on. We're not, for all it's still very character-based, a lot of those things that the series was predicated on at the beginning, like you say about the depression from Lister being potentially the last person alive, and Rimmer having to be alive even though he's not, and like be a hologram, and him having to deal with kind of being depressed over that, and Cat sort of finding his place. A lot of that's kind of gone by the wayside, and they're just writing fun episodes based on these characters for this series, I think.
Well, and you don't, and I could see them being like, okay, we can't keep going to this well. The characters have to move forward too, and accept things. I just realized something cool though. I said, you got to let them learn things and accept things. And then I was like, and in my brain, I was like, like Rimmer discovering that, he did get the break. And then I was like, wait a minute. Actually, Lister knows that Rimmer didn't really get the break. I don't know that Rimmer ever actually was told.
That's interesting. Yeah, I wonder.
Because now that I say that, I don't. It doesn't seem like something Lister would have said to him. Right now, you bring up another good point, or what you were talking about made me think of crossing it over too with the whole, we're not spending this season any time of thinking about how can we get away, do stuff or whatever. Like even like the time slides episode was like, oh my gosh, I'm back on Earth.
Yes.
Oh wait, I'm only stuck within this photograph. If they were still heavily on that this season, it would be so weird. They would let Ace go instead of trying to figure out how to go with him.
Yes.
And be like, just drop us off at a dimension where we actually can be back at Earth. We don't care.
That's interesting, actually.
And never occurred to me until you were just talking about.
No.
Like, wait, but if you had slapped that concept in the middle of series 3 or 2, you'd be like, no way. They'd have tried to go with, you'd had to have written something about why he did not take them.
So then now you see how accepting of the position they are in they are, that they wouldn't even consider like another way to get back to wherever it was they wanted to be.
Well, and they never really explained why the matter panel isn't used again.
No.
Because they also could have tried to use that to get to Earth. They don't say like, oh, it's messed up. It actually can't travel that far. They just use it once. And go, oh, that was crazy. It's like the time turner in Harry Potter. Hey, just put that thing in a drawer somewhere.
Yeah, we've had this all the time, but we're gonna we could literally just go and kill baby Voldemort, and everything that's happened since doesn't happen. But yeah, it's weird, and it has become. Even though we've said right from the start that it's not a serial, it isn't. It's not meant to be. It wasn't written that way. But there are threads that go through them. This one feels more episodic than the 3 series prior.
Sure, because if you do try to square up his behavior, you'd be like, no, you'd be so angry in the next episode about like,
yes,
what a jerk, dude. Like, yeah. But that isn't what happens because we're watching it that way right now. And again, that's why as you said, it's hard for me to be like, I don't know, because I'm sure there were times I thought I was watching something that was in order, but it was something that had jumped from series 3 to series 4 because it was, that cast. I thought, for all I knew, it was the next episode.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I think over here, when I picked it up, it'll have been on a Friday night on BBC 2 at 9:00. So we'd have just caught the first one. I remember watching the first one. So then you would have just known that it was on at Friday. Whereas because you got it in kind of syndication, and it was
11 o'clock or 11:30 on Friday nights,
and not an actual, not the channel that would have financed like BBC. It is a BBC comedy show, so it was financed by them. So it'd have been a big deal. Whereas you were getting it on a public access channel, they'd have literally just put what they had on at a specific time, so you have no idea what you were watching.
Yeah, and some human gets a stack of them and watches one and like decides he's putting this one on first. Do you know what I mean? Like, like there's
it's weird.
Yeah. Who knows? It's just like as a kid, like, speaking of who, like watching Doctor Who, people are like 4th, 5th Doctor or whatever. I'm like, no frame of reference that they were in any order other than there's black and white and then there wasn't, because on PBS they would just air them sporadically.
But it's interesting, isn't it? I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Like, you look at over the last 10 or 15 years, the whole TV and even movies, the whole Marvel thing, were like, it was all episodic. Like, you needed, if you were going to see Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, you would have to, if you've never watched a Marvel film or a TV series prior to that, you're either walking into that movie having absolutely no idea what's going on, or a week or so prior, you're having to watch Doctor Strange, Infinity War, Endgame, What If, Home, all this other stuff to be able to understand what's going on. And it's funny that we've now seemed to have stepped away from that a little bit and gone back to not so much a Red Dwarf thing where it's not it is episodic, but it's not an episodic long form story. But we've gone down into shorter series of things. Like, we haven't started watching it yet because we're doing, funnily enough, we're doing the research beforehand of rewatching series 1, 2, and 3 of Daredevil, and then we're going to watch... Oh,
that's so funny. We've just started Daredevil season 3 to doing the same thing.
We're just about finished series 1. So we're doing that prep on our own, and then we're going to watch Echo because we never watched that to prepare for Daredevil Born Again. How many episodes are there in Born Again? Do you know?
My assumption is 8, but that's just because that's kind of a thing they've been doing, but I don't know if it really is 8.
But that's the thing, you're getting down into these series. It's like you look at Stranger Things, when that next season, I think they're only doing 3 or 4 episodes for the finale season.
Hey, based on the previous season, each one will be 2.5 friggin' hours long.
I think that's what they're doing, though. I think there's only going to be 3 episodes, but they're going to be feature length.
Can I make a prediction?
It'll be...
Whether it is or isn't won't matter. I think it will disappear like a fart in a wind.
Really?
I think the window to make this buzz hot for that show is gone.
And the kids are about 30 now, aren't they?
Yeah. Like the cliffhanger you left it on didn't leave you in such a way to easily just do a time jump. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it needed to. Yeah. So.
But anyway, that's what I'm saying. It's weird that we've kind of gone full circle after 30 odd years and going back to those smaller.
Well, they even speaking of the Disney stuff, they just announced like Punisher's going to get another thing on Disney Plus TV, but it's just a special. It's going to be like a 45-minute special like that Man-Thing one was. And I actually like that. I think that's a good idea.
No, I don't. I love Punisher.
Well, but again, leave them wanting more.
True.
And right? And so like you get a good actor like John Bernthal who's going to do a lot of different stuff. If you're like, "Hey man, could you do a couple of specials this year?"
Yeah.
And I think that's how you imagine like Tom Hiddleston, like, maybe that dude doesn't want to sit down and do 3 more seasons of Loki that long, but could you do a little, I'm like, that's actually,
yeah.
I think if you did those specials, God, we were way off topic. But anyway, I think that's a good idea.
I'm going to bring it full circle in a second, so carry on.
Oh no, but I think that's a good idea of like keeping people engaged without making them feel like they got to do a ton of homework,
But then I think you look... We don't know at this point whether these new episodes of Red Dwarf are happening this year. I did see something the other day that seems to make me think they are going to happen. I know it's going to happen and it's not going to happen, but then the last couple of series have been that of Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
Sort of longer, smaller, like longer, but less episodes. And it's weird how things have come full circle. It will be interesting to see if those episodes materialize this year or not. But yes, we have gone completely off topic, as we tend to do on this podcast.
That's what we did. Yeah, we did pretty good up until now, though. We did pretty good.
But I enjoy talking about the episodes, but I enjoy talking about viewing it 30 odd years in the future. It is different. It just shows how different TV is nowadays compared to how it used to be. So let's get back to the episode a little bit. I did love the Full Metal Jacket reference in there when Rimmer's going. It's like I can't remember who the character is now.
Oh, it's Arlie. It's the drill sergeant from
but Arlie Ermy. But I'm trying to think who the character is he's talking to when he asks him who he is or where he's from. He tells him where he's from, and he's like, "Oh, there's only 2 types of people from there, steers or queers, and which one are you?" I can't remember which character it is.
Is it is it there's that one French philosopher?
I don't think it was Jean-Paul Sartre, was it? I don't think it was. Because he said, don't start talking to me about your existential, the despair of life. I'm going to have to look it up now.
This is, who's this? Teresa, sir. Mother Teresa. And he even says her name weird, Teresa. Like,
Teresa.
Whatever
it
that,
does it with like an ER on the end. Teresa.
Whatever that, I'm going to do this Canadian accent. And he had said, like, I was going to do a Canadian accent. Whatever that is my version of a Canadian. Like, it's so weird. And it makes... And I remember as a kid growing up thinking, man, they say some weird things in England. And I love when you're like, how did he just pronounce hummus? Like,
yeah, that was another one. I loved Santa Claus said, like, what the hell is he doing here? Oh, he's on loan from the fantasy section, sir.
Which would have made its own like amazing version of this story.
That was hilarious. It was Sir Francis of Assisi.
Oh, that's...
And he's like, there's only two kinds from Assisi, steers and queers. Which one are you, boy?
If you haven't watched Full Metal Jacket in a while...
Oh my God, I love that film.
God, man. I also forget how it's basically two different movies. And
yes.
Like, oh, yeah, when the second half starts, it's still good, but...
Yeah, the first half's the better half, yeah, but true.
Yeah, speaking of, since we were just talking about Daredevil, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yes. Yes.
But nothing beats this role from Vincent D'Onofrio. I need sugar.
Is that better? I love that film. He is, let's go off topic. He is an amazing actor, by the way, and I don't think he gets the props that he deserves.
No, he doesn't. I love freaking that guy is so good. No, well, I think he has later now. But I think there was a long time he was this kind of forgotten. I do think Daredevil helped because it was like, you're scary as hell, dude.
He's amazing as Kingpin.
It was like when Sir Anthony Hopkins took his turn at Hannibal, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, like you're terrifying," and his Kingpin is absolutely, makes you feel nervous.
Yes.
Will Vincent D'Onofrio make it into our if we had to cast this with Americans when we finally get to that at some point, or performers today.
But yeah, like I said, it's not a particularly it's not a clever episode. It's not particularly well written. Like a lot of the earlier episodes that I like, the ones that are in my top 5, I like. You look at Queeg or Thanks for the Memory or Waiting for God. They're quite clever episodes. This one is it's basically there for Rimmer to live out his fantasy of being Napoleon, basically, because he's always talked about he wants to be in war, but he doesn't want to be on the front line. He wants to be like one of the officers sipping tea on the mound and watching everyone else die, basically, and he gets to do it, and he shows how crap he would be at doing it, but he loves it. He's so proud of himself at the end that he won the war, even though everybody died.
You'll remember this. How did we see Elvis go down? How does he go down?
I was just trying to think. I don't think you see him.
That's funny.
Because that's a shame.
Yeah, he would have been in our post-credits. Oh, he is, though, technically. In the post-credit, because he sings I love they brought him in to sing the song at the end. Amazing. So good.
It's like,
no kind of atmosphere all alone.
See what I mean? He is the best character. I think he is my favourite character in Red Dwarf to date. And we're only ever going to get to see him once.
Sorry, Craig Ferguson.
It's just amazing. He makes this episode, and it's so weird to say a focused cast member, like not a Rimmer, not a Lister, not a Holly, not a Crichton. This random character that comes up in this random episode is just my favourite character ever. He is amazing.
So what does that lead you then for your rating?
A 9. A 9. I'm not going to give it a 10 because I think there's cleverer episodes. It's not a Queeg. It's not a Waiting for God. But it's just... It had me laughing from start to finish.
I have this a strong 9 out of 10 as well.
Hey.
Yeah. I loved this episode and had fun. It was a scary one to come to because I have memories of a kid loving it, but then going, but is it because they never really did reruns where I could catch it again?
Yes.
And so I don't know it as well. Well, I still like it. And then I watched, I was like, oh, no, this was great.
It's amazing.
Absolutely fantastic.
So that is the end of series 4. And we did talk about at the end of every series moving forward to revisit our top fives. Now, I've already alluded to the fact that this one made it into my top five, but Blake, let's go to you first. Is any of the episodes from series 4...
Wait a minute, I need to get to our top 5 holiday special. Okay, so here's our holiday special we recorded, so I can remind myself of my top 5. So my top 5 from top to bottom was Marooned, Season 3, Episode 2, Queeg, Season 2, Episode 5, Polymorph, Season 3, Episode 2, Better Than Life, Season 2, Episode 2, and The End, Season 1, Episode 1 for my 5th one.
Any of these episodes from Series 4 pushed any of those out?
See, this is tough because like it's like we almost need... It's like we did our holiday special with our top 5, and I almost feel like I need a conversation about these because I really want to slot Dimension Jump in there somewhere, but it's hard for me to know which one to take out because I sort of have what's the term? Recency bias right now. And I really like it. I have one from season. I have one from series 1, 2 from series 2, and 2 from series 3. I tell you, if I'm going to temporarily say it removes Polymorph and goes into my 3rd slot.
Interesting.
I need to go back and watch Polymorph again because Polymorph I really giggled at a lot, but I just don't feel like I don't feel like I can use it to take out Queeg, Better Than Life, The End, Marooned. I don't know, between Better Than Life and Polymorph. If that's where I would slot it in, there's between one of them, maybe.
So my initial top 5 when we did our holiday bonus, I had Queeg at number 1, Future Echoes at 2, Waiting for God for 3, Thanks for the Memory 4, and Polymorph at 5. So I'm going to pull this in. So Meltdowns made it into my number 4, knocking Polymorph out of my top 5.
Oh, that's funny because we both went there.
So now my top 5 is Queeg, Future Echoes, Waiting for God, Meltdown, and Thanks for the Memory. And it was tough because I really loved this episode. But Waiting for God, the whole garbage pod thing, and that, again, we haven't seen that Rimmer losing his temper of like, I don't care which smegging hat they wore. This is... whatever it is, a Quake, what are you? Like, that is one of the best things ever. I love that so much.
I almost feel like I should remove one of my other ones, but we both ditch Polymorph. That's going to be funny.
I said to you I would be very surprised moving out of that top 5 that we did after Series 3 if anything made it into my top 5 because of how biased I am on the first 2 series. And then when having watched this 3 times and it got funnier every time I watched it, I was like, I have to put it in there because it's just so good.
All right, I'm gonna temporarily put mine after Polymorph. I think as well. But I also feel like I need to see. It's like I need to see some of these other episodes that we have coming. And we're definitely going to...
That's fine. You can do that now. You can do... Yeah. That's the whole point, is we're doing these after each series. So right now, you can go, do you know what? I'm going to put that one in there. And then you might end up... And that's where it becomes tough. Because you're like, I really enjoyed whatever Hollow Ship the next episode. And is it better than that, though?
I do. You know what's funny? It's funny. Memory is a funny thing.
Oh, yes, it is.
I know the Hollow Ship episode.
I don't.
That is another one of those that there were not a ton of reruns for. So I only saw it a couple times. But it has a direct Star Trek reference as opposed to just alluding to. I mean, it is an absolute huge Star Trek reference. And it's I found it a funny joke. And I did not remember it until just now. When you said that,
I'm sure I will recognize it when I watch it, but right now, if you were to ask me what it was about, I would have no idea. Actually,
I hadn't really thought about the episode. It is actually an interesting one to follow. Again, I know they didn't plan it this way, but it is an interesting one to follow Dimension Jump. Not so much Meltdown, but following Dimension Jump. If Dimension Jump had been the last one,
yes,
then the next one would be quite the 1-2 punch with Rimmer. So.
Interesting.
All right. I'll put Dimension Jump for now.
Where?
There. At 3, where I had it at 3 with Polymorph.
So what's your top 5 now?
So my top 5 now would be, from the bottom up, would be The End, Better Than Life, Dimension Jump, Queeg, Marooned.
That's what I find. So you knocked. So Dimension Jump didn't knock Polymorph down; it knocked it off altogether.
Yeah, I think so.
Because that's weird then. Because like mine, obviously I bumped it up one, so it knocked those 2 down, and Polymorph dropped off because
I couldn't do that because The End, I just couldn't kick off The End.
Okay.
Not yet. And I just was like, and Better Than Life to me is such a turning point for the show in like what it does that I can't get rid of it. Okay. And Polymorph is just one of those, much like you for Meltdown, I genuinely just laugh a lot at that episode. Yeah. So I also know that I got other stuff coming that I think is going to crack it. So it's going to get wibbly wobbly quickly.
Okay. I can't wait.
Yeah, so I'm just going to trade out. I'm going to trade out for now.
That's fair. Cool.
Oh, man. Well, I guess that brings us to the end of this old podcast. That was fun.
Yeah, and the end of another series. Wow.
Whew. That ended very strong. These two were, last 2 were very enjoyable to talk about. Well, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Dwarf Memory and on X at Dwarf_Memory, formerly known as Twitter, for all the show updates.
Yes, please subscribe, rate, and please go on iTunes and stuff and leave us a review and let people know that you do like what we're doing. If you like what we're doing, if not, just don't bother. And rather, I hate people that go on and go, this is don't listen to it. Like, if you just move along. If you don't like it, stop listening. Don't bother reviewing it. But whatever. Do that. You can do it on Spotify and iTunes. Is it still iTunes, Apple Podcast, whatever it is now?
It's Apple Podcast, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, you can email us your comments and thoughts to us at dwarfmemory@gmail.com.
And the next episode will be kicking off Series 5, Episode 1, Hollow Ship. So make sure to give that a watch before you listen to the next episode.
I think I might watch that tomorrow. So how many of them made it back?
There are always casualties in war, gentlemen. Otherwise, it wouldn't be war. It'd just be a rather nasty argument with a lot of pushing and shoving.
So how many survived?
Well, we haven't had time to make a full official estimate, but a rough guess. And obviously, this is subject to alteration pending information, updates, roundabout. None of them.
So you wiped out the entire population of this planet?
You make it sound so negative, Malaby. Don't you see the deranged menace that once threatened this world is vanquished?
No, it isn't, pal. You're still here.
I brought about peace, freedom, and democracy.
Yeah, Braswell, right. Absolutely. Now all the corpses that litter the battlefield can just lie there safe under the knowledge that they snuffed it under a flag of peace and can now happily decompose in a land of freedom. You smeghead.
There really is no pleasing some people, is there?
Well, at least we got the matter paddle back. Well, there's nothing to stay here for. Come on, let's go back.
Shouldn't we go out on the battlefield and bask in the glow of our victory?
Holly, give me his light beat. See you, Braswell. It's okay, he'll come out in a couple of days and he'll have been through what he put us through. Anyone fancy a Vindaloo?